what you should have done now is have all of the body organized. It doesn't have to be complete, just organized. So I've organized all of my problems into certain themes. I then named my themes and turned those names into complete topic sentences. So this paragraph or paragraphs, notice I have quite a few note cards here, is all about this one idea. Same thing here, same thing here, all the way down. Same thing with possible solutions, same thing with best solution. Once I have all that, now I can go up and make a thesis. I couldn't make a thesis before because I didn't have everything organized. Now that I have everything organized, it's pretty simple. All I have to do is state my problems and my solutions. Not necessarily all of them, but enough to let the reader know what they're about to read. You can make it as simple as this. Fill in those dots with your list of problems and list of solutions. So here I have some problems with juvenile delinquency, some causes maybe, and solutions. Like any thesis, it's supposed to be one sentence, so most people will have problems, semicolon, solutions. And that's just the way it works. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, and like I said, you can make it as simple and straightforward as you want. Now, once that's done, now I can start talking about my attention grabber and some background information. Attention grabber really should be personal example. Most people who chose a topic chose it because it was personal. Something happened to you, something happened to someone you know. So it's always a good idea to start with this, personal example, because then you can tie that into the conclusion as well. Same thing with a shocking statistic. If the thing that you're looking at says, 75% of people with this certain type of cancer don't make it. Well, that's shocking. That gets the reader to read it. And then again, you can end with that. You can also use an opposing viewpoint. Depending on what you're looking at, that might work for you. It doesn't usually work that well, but again, it can. And then a quote. If you're going to start with a quote, end with a quote. Don't just pick any quote. Don't pick like a leftover card. Like, make it good. Get something that would sound good at the start of a paper to get someone interested. This is a hook. It's an attention catcher. It's a grabber. So with something like this, I could say, something like this, a personal story. Now notice it's only 2 sentences long. You don't want to spend the first entire page telling your story. You want something to, again, introduce the topic. This isn't a creative writing class. Now, I need something to fill the gap. So this would be a good point to, if you need something to define, this would be a good spot for that. If you needed some, a new outlook on this, like the society has changed its outlook on this particular topic over the last 20 years, this is a good place for that. If the thing you're researching seems kind of benign, but once you got into it, you found that it was not harmless, it's actually, a widespread problem, here's a good place for that too. You really just need something in between where you start and your thesis. Again, not a single sentence, but I'm trying to connect my personal story with my thesis. Now, just like the rest of this is not written in stone. You can change this whenever you want. Once you get the entire thing done, you're going to edit it anyway, so this might not sound good as a paragraph, but it should sound okay as a paragraph. If you read A, B, and C here, it should sound like a fairly flowing paragraph. But once you have that, again, the attention grabber, the background information, and the thesis, now you can talk about a conclusion. So at the very end, you should end with what you began with. So if you started with a quote, end with a quote. If you started with a shocking statistic, end with a shocking statistic. Wherever you began, that's where you're going to end, because you want this to be wrapped up. You want to, in my situation, sort of sound like a story. So, notice how I'm sort of wrapping up my beginning statement. I started with a story about my brother. I'm ending with a story about my brother. I now want to kind of weave that into a rehashing of my points. Okay, so there's my thesis, again, different words, and now a call to action. Literally tell the reader what to do. If you have a phone number, tell them to call it. If there's a website, tell them to go there. But tell them to do something. Don't say, we all have to do our part. Don't say that. Say, call the Red Cross at 1-800-RED-CROSS. Again, this should all sound like a paragraph because that's what you're ending your paper with. And there's nothing written in stone. You can change this. You can edit it. You probably will. But this should be a paragraph. So now you have a complete outline. You have, in my case, a personal story, a little background information connecting my personal story to the thesis. I then have a few problems, all with topic sentences. I have a few possible solutions with topic sentences. I have a best solution with a topic sentence. I then go to my conclusion. I finish up my story. I have a rewritten thesis. I have a call to action. What can the reader do? It's all here. Once this is done, now we can flesh this out. Now we can go and talk about each of the note cards, introduce those, explain each one. How does that relate back to the topic sentence? All that essay stuff. But the hardest part about this particular essay is organization, and it's all organized.